Okay, I will share my screen. Here we go.
Yes.
Right. Yes, here we begin. Okay, Prabhuji, I'll begin then.
Thank you. Yes.
So, Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Thank you so very much for joining us today. As always, it's an honor to be able to bring you whatever information I can on this great temple of Lord Sri Krishna in Guruvayur.
Mm.
I would like to begin with a few verses in praise of the Lord and the Bhagavata Mahapuranam.
Mm.
Srimad-Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yadvaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsyam Ekamamalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyamavishkritam Tatshrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimucchennaraha. Srimad Bhagavatam is the purest of the Puranas and most dear to Vaishnavas as it describes the purest supreme knowledge. It reveals or explains the essence of true knowledge, renunciation, devotion, and the means of becoming free from the results of material action. Anyone who properly listens to the Bhagavatam and chants it with devotion attains complete liberation. This verse is from the 12th canto, chapter 13, verse number 18 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षकृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुक्त्यर्थं भवसागरे. The Srimad Bhagavatam is Sri Krishna himself. O my dear Lord, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet to be liberated from this ocean of material existence. This verse is from the Padma Purana. Lastly, I would like to recite this very special verse called the Eka Shloki Bhagavatam, or the essence of the Bhagavatam captured in one verse. I would like to thank my aunt, my maternal aunt, for teaching this verse to me. She has taught this as well as the Eka Shloki Ramayanam as well, the essence of the Ramayana in one verse.
Wow.
आदौ देवकी देवी गर्भजननं गोपीगृहे वर्धनं मायापूतन जीवितापहरणं गोवर्धनोद्धारणं कंसच्छेदनकौरवादिहननं कुन्तीसुतापालनम् एतद्भागवतं पुराणकथितं Shri-Krishna Leelamritam, describing the appearance of Sri Krishna in the womb of Devi Devaki, his upbringing amongst the gopis of Vrindavan, the uplifting of the blessed Govardhan mountain, the destruction of evil personified as Kamsa, the Kauravas, and other demons, the care and guidance Sri Krishna bestowed on the sons of Kunti, the Pandavas. Such is the glory of the Srimad Bhagavata Mahapuranam, narrating the delightful pastimes of Sri Krishna, which is indeed nectar to the ears.
Where is this slok from, Shruti?
I'm not aware, Prabhuji. There are a lot, because the Bhagavata Mahapuranam is huge. We know it contains 18,000 verses. There are many such alternatives, if I may say so, for those who wish to pay respects to the Bhagavatam, those who wish to include the Bhagavatam in some way, in their daily routine or daily rituals, but who do not have the time to sit down to actually chant verses from the Bhagavatam. So this, I'm not sure where it occurs, but this is something that was taught to us, and we have been we try and recite this verse as often as we can. There is also a Chatushloki Bhagavatam, which has 4 verses. So the essence of the Bhagavatam in explained in 4 verses. This is Ekashloki, one verse. Similarly, there is an Ekashloki Ramayanam as well. So the essence of the Ramayanam captured in one verse.
Very, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So last week, we may recall that we discussed how Lord Shiva and Devi Parvati themselves were very fond of the recitation of the Bhagavatam, especially when when the recitation was done by Undanam Nambudiri, a very great devotee of Guruvayur. I recall that last week I did not have a proper slide or a photograph to represent to show for representative purposes when we were discussing this particular episode. So I would just like to briefly recall the episode once more. This photograph that you see on the screen is of that Shiva temple in Kerala, where Puntanam Nambudiri recited the Bhagavatam, and where he also witnessed Lord Shiva reading from his own copy of the Bhagavatam. So Puntanam Nambudiri, he once visited this temple in Kerala called Kottiyur Shiva Temple. It's a very ancient temple, and as far as I am aware, this temple is not open throughout the year. It is open only during specific times. I will make sure to read a little more about the temple in detail later on. So during his stay there, Puntanam recited the Srimad Bhagavatam in front of the deity, in front of Lord Shiva, every day. And several devotees, they gathered to listen to his discourses and his recitation, which was so soulful and so brimming with devotion, especially on Sri Krishna's wonderful pastimes in the 10th canto, the 10th skanda of the Bhagavatam. But there was one thing, very strange thing that Puntanam noticed. Every day, he would always find the bookmark he had a bookmark, to mark the location where he should begin from next during the next day's discourse. So every day, he would find that the bookmark was always placed at the beginning of the chapter, where Sri Krishna playfully teases Devi Rukmini, even though he was 100% sure that the previous night he had placed the bookmark at the end of the chapter. So the next morning, every night he would place it at the end of the chapter, and then the next morning he would come to find the bookmark at the beginning of the chapter. Now, he wasn't sure why this was happening or how it was happening, but nevertheless, he always used to recite the same chapter every day. So one night, after finishing his discourse, Puntanam was on his way home, and suddenly he realized that he had left his copy of the Bhagavatam at the temple, and then he hurried back to retrieve it. And when he reached the temple, since it had already been closed for the day, it was silent, pin drop silence all around, and there was absolutely nobody, no one. And in the midst of the silence, when he paid a little attention to the sounds, he heard someone reciting that very same chapter that he had been reciting for the past few days. And when he went closer and he looked through the keyhole of the door, he saw Lord Shiva himself reading the Bhagavatam from Puntanam's book that he had left behind. surrounded by Devi Parvati and all his Bhutaganas, all of Lord Shiva's attendants. They were all sitting, paying rapt attention to Lord Shiva. And when he completed the recitation, Lord Shiva asked Devi Parvati, "Did you like the recitation, Devi?" And Devi replied, "Yes, my lord, but it was not as good as Puntanam's." Lord Shiva then said, "That's true. I am very fond of Puntanam's recitation as well. And that is why I kept placing the bookmark at the start of this chapter every day." And Puntanam was transfixed. He did not know what to say. Imagine God sitting in front of your very naked eyes, reading from the Bhagavatam and mentioning that he is fond of your recitation. How Puntanam must have felt at that moment. All he could do was shout or exclaim in that feeling of ecstasy that he had. He said, "Krishna." And when he looked up again, Lord Shiva, Devi Parvati, and the attendants, they had all disappeared. So this only illustrates not just the great devotion that devotees like Puntanam had, but also the greatness of the Bhagavatam itself and the importance that the recitation of the Bhagavatam has. Okay, so now I would like to talk about yet another very special temple in Guruvayur. This is aside from the main Guruvayur Sri Krishna temple. So this temple is dedicated to Lord Krishna as Parthasarathi, or the charioteer of Arjun. So Arjun was also known as Partha because he was the son of Devi Pritha or Kunti. Pritha was one of Devi Kunti's names. So being the son of Pritha, Arjun was also known as Parth. And Sri Krishna was not only Arjun's cousin and best friend, but he was also his eternal guide. And therefore, literally and figuratively, Sri Krishna was Arjun's Sarathi or charioteer, always steering him in the right direction. And thus, Sri Krishna came to be known as Parthasarathi. We know from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse number 78. This verse also occurs as part of the Vishnu Sahasranama recitation. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharah, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So Sanjaya, the minister of Dhritarashtra, King Dhritarashtra, who is blessed with a divine vision before the beginning of the Mahabharata war by Sri Vedavyasa, being his student, he is able to witness every single happening on the battlefield, even though he's sitting at a great distance. And he not only reports what is happening on the battlefield, but he, being very educated, being a very wise personality, he also expresses his opinion on the nature of the characters involved in the battle, and he offers his commentary on the happenings as he's relating them one by one to the king. So he says, these are the words spoken by Sanjaya, and they are included as part of the Bhagavad Gita. So he says, wherever there is Krishna, the master of yogis, and wherever there is Arjuna, the greatest of archers. So Dhanurdhar means archer, the one who is an expert at using a bow and an arrow. Wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, there is sure to be the presence of prosperity and victory And this is my firm opinion. So the Guruvayur Parthasarathi temple is dedicated to Sri Krishna as Parthasarathi, or the charioteer of Arjuna, holding a conch and a horse whip in his hands. It's a very beautiful temple. What the photograph that you see on the screen, the one on the top, is the photograph of the central shrine in the temple. So you can see that it's shaped like a chariot with horses on the side. And of course, we are not allowed to photograph the deity. So this photograph was taken when the central shrine was closed. And the one below is the entrance to the Parthasarathi temple. So this temple is right opposite the railway station in Guruvayur. The interesting part is this temple was discovered very, very recently, relatively recently, about 50 years ago. The deity of Sri Parthasarathi and the enclosing sanctum sanctorum, the Garbhagriha as we call it, they were discovered intact in the midst of long forgotten ruins. When a roofing sheet, it collapsed in 1971, and then the people living in the area, they rushed to see what had happened, and then they found a lot of overgrowth, like plants and thorns and bushes, all grown and accumulated over years and years and years. And then they began cutting away at all of those thorns and bushes, and when it was finally all cleared out, they were they were surprised to see such a beautiful deity having lain there forgotten for so many years, for so many centuries. So then an astrological investigation, as per the Kerala tradition, called the Ashtamangala Deva Prashnam, it was revealed, it was conducted, an investigation was conducted, and this investigation revealed that the deity that had been discovered had the constant presence of Sri Krishna as Parthasarathi, and that a temple had to be constructed as soon as possible so that regular worship could commence. The central shrine that you see in the photo was sculpted out of a very special type of rock called Krishna Shila in the shape of a chariot, and it was brought to life by more than 100 sculptors from Kanchipuram in Tamil Nadu. The deity was revealed to have been installed at first by Sri Adi Shankaracharya many years ago, and it was also revealed that Devarshi Narada had been blessed with the wonderful vision of Sri Krishna's Vishwarupa, or cosmic form, after meditating at the very spot where the temple stands today. We'll now talk about a very, very great personality called Sri Chembai Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar. His name was originally Vaidyanatha Iyer, but on account of being born on account of hailing from the village of Chembai in the Palakkad district of Kerala, where he used to be referred to very commonly as Chembai Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar. So Bhagavatar is a title indicating respect for a highly learned person, especially in the field of music, who uses music and bhajans as not only as an art form, but also as a means of expressing devotion to the Lord. So Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar, Chembai, as he was commonly known, he was born on Sri Krishna Janmashtami Day in the year 1896. He was an immensely talented and accomplished Carnatic vocalist, and he had a strong, very strong very resonant voice, which could be heard for miles and miles. And imagine this was in those days when there were no microphones and speakers. They came in much later. So he enthralled so many people, so many listeners over the years.
Daddy was born on Srila Prabhupada was born same year, 1896, the day after Janmashtami.
Okay, wow.
Amazing coincidence.
That's lovely. A great devotee of Sri Krishna, Chembai popularized many rare devotional compositions in praise of Guruvayurappan. I haven't learned these songs. I'm not able to sing them, but they're very beautiful songs indeed. Rakshamam Sharanagatam is one song. People who are familiar with Carnatic music will be more familiar with these songs. And another song called Pavana Gurupavanapuri Ashraye. So, O Lord Guruvayurappa of the very holy town of Guruvayur, I take refuge at your feet. That is what those words mean. So that was yet another composition which he very frequently, very often sang in his concerts. So his first concert was at the age of 8 in the year 1904 at the Sri Krishna temple in a very small village called Purikunnu in Palakkad. So the photo of the temple that you see on the screen is a photo of that very same temple where he gave his first concert. So today there is a memorial hall dedicated to Chembai in this temple, and they have a music festival every year where children and not just children, musicians of all ages come and perform as a tribute to this very great musician. Chembai had a very great, very close association with Guruvayur. So that is why we are talking about him today. On the 7th of January in 1952, when Chembai was performing at a concert in a place called Suchindram near Kanyakumari in Tamil Nadu, his vocal cords, they suddenly stopped producing any sound. He seemed to have lost his voice. He just couldn't sing. Not a single word came out of his mouth. And everyone was terrified. Imagine a person like Chembai, whose voice could be heard for miles and miles, suddenly not being able to sing. They tried every possible medical treatment that they could get hold of, but none of them had any effect at all. And finally, Chembai went to Guruvayur on the occasion of Guruvayur Ekadashi in the year 1954. And now his situation was such that he couldn't even cry out loud. He had lost his voice completely. So he was silently crying out to Guruvayurappan, and he pleaded, please help me sing your names again. Please help me sing your praises again. And by the grace of Guruvayurappan, he regained his voice, and he continued to give many more excellent concerts, one after the other. And he made it a point to give a concert at Guruvayur every year on the occasion of Guruvayur Ekadashi. Now, what happened was, just see how the Lord plays, seemingly he plays with his dearest devotees. On one such Guruvayur Ekadashi day, Chembai, he committed to singing at a different concert altogether without realizing that it was Guruvayur Ekadashi. He forgot that he was supposed to have been at Guruvayur instead, singing there. And without realizing that, he committed to perform at another place. And when he sat down to sing there in front, it was a full house audience, mind you, he found that he had lost his voice again. He couldn't sing. And then he couldn't, at first he couldn't explain what was happening. And then he thought, and then he, oh my God, it is Guruvayur Ekadashi today. I've forgotten that. at this very moment, I should have been in Guruvayur preparing to sing in front of Guruvayurpan, and here I am having forgotten my promise. And then he rushed to Guruvayur as fast as he could, and he made it just in time for the concert to begin. And as soon as he tried to sing, sitting on that stage, he regained his voice again. And these are not episodes or incidents that have taken place like centuries or ages ago. These have been quite recent in the 1950s. On his last visit to Guruvayur, Chembai Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar, he completed his 41st offering of the Udayastamana Puja. So I think I briefly mentioned this in the session where we talked about the daily puja routine at the temple. So the Udayastamana Puja is a very special offering. It is a series of special pujas or worships offered to Guruvayurappan from sunrise to sunset. So Udaya indicates the sunrise, Astama indicates sunset. So from sunrise to sunset. And trying to get a booking for offering this puja is very difficult. I think I read somewhere that currently bookings are full until the year 2050. 50.
Wow.
And it's only 2021. So do the math for yourself. It is 29 years to go, nearly 30 years more before anyone can even think of trying to get a booking. So Chembai was so fortunate that he, in those years, of course, it was much easier. It was not as difficult as it is today. He was able, during his lifetime, he was able to make this offering 41 times. So on his last visit to Guruvayur, he made his 41st offering. And later, a few months later, I suppose, or a few weeks, I'm not sure, he gave his last concert at the very same Krishna temple where he gave his first concert. And at that time, he was 78 years old. And on the very day when he of completing his last concert, Chembai Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar, he left the physical world. The photograph on the top is it's a memorial statue indicated to honor this very great musician and devotee. This is in his hometown, his village of Chembai in Kerala. And yet another thing that I must mention, the photograph that you see below is just one glimpse of the Guruvayur Chembai Sangeetotsavam. It is a music festival spanning a period of 15 days, which is conducted just before Guruvayur Ekadashi every year. It is a grand music festival. Musicians of all ages from all across the world come to perform. It is on an open stage, an open auditorium just in front of the temple, and all musicians, whether it is a child who is just starting to learn music, or whether it is someone who is very well versed in music, musicians of all categories and all ages, they consider it and the ultimate privilege, the ultimate blessing to be able to sit on the stage facing the temple and make their offering in the form of music. So this this music festival is held in honor of Chembai Vaidyanatha Bhagavatar. And I was fortunate to get one opportunity to to be able to sing on this stage. It was 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, in 2016. Till date, that has been my most unforgettable memory.
Wow.
I always cherish that. I can never forget the feeling, and I'm sure every musician who has ever been on that stage will have the same, will share a similar sentiment.
What did you sing?
So Prabhuji, this is primarily a traditional classical music concert in the Carnatic style, or the style of classical music that is practiced in southern India. So the participants, they need to fill out a form a few months in advance, and in the form they list out 10 of their most favorite or choicest songs from whatever they know or whatever they have learned. And then when they receive a confirmation a few months later, and so in the reply that they get, uh, the song that they are chosen to sing is marked on the form. So out of those 10, the authorities, they select one of those songs, and we go and sing that song on the stage. So the song that I was the song that they selected for me, it was a very beautiful composition in the Tamil language. But the essence of that composition means, uh, when Sri Krishna has stolen my heart by playing his flute, what do I have to complain about? It's like I've achieved everything. So that is the constant refrain that is repeated throughout the song. It's a very beautiful composition.
Sounds amazing. And maybe you can sing for us one time. Sing for the pleasure of the Lord.
Of course, Prabhuji. I think I'll just sing maybe a couple of lines now.
Okay.
Maybe not the entire composition, but just a few lines. Uh, the language may be unfamiliar to many devotees, but of course, the sentiment of devotion that the composers encapsulate in their songs is the same, no matter where they come from. குழலூதி மனமெல்லாம் கொள்ளை கொண்ட பின்னும் குறையேதும் எனக்கேதடி சகியே குறையேதும் எனக்கேதடி சகியே குழலூதி மனமெல்லாம் கொள்ளை கொண்ட பின்னும் குறையேதும் எனக்கேதடி சகியே குறையேதும் எனக்கேதடி.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. This
Karuna, you're going to have to match that, okay?
God, I won't be able to do that.
Amazing, amazing.
Complete, are we?
Actually, Karuna is very special. Very, very, very special.
It was Karuna Mataji was singing the prayers, wasn't she, at the beginning?
She always does. She's
Beautiful.
she's so good.
Very sweet voice, very sweet voice. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
have done Hindustani. Sorry, I have done only Hindustani music, not Carnatic. So it's impossible for me to sing like that.
Oh, no, that doesn't, in fact, it doesn't matter at all. You are using the medium that you have learned, that you know, to express your devotion. So everyone, we all express our feelings in our own way. And it's the way you do it is very beautiful, Mataji. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, very good. Well put.
Yes, so the song, essentially, the lines that I sang. So kural is the Tamil word for flute, and manam indicates the heart. So it is like in the song, I think it represents a gopi, a devotee of the Lord, telling her friend that look at what has happened. Krishna, he plays the flute so beautifully, and he stolen my heart, and now I have nothing else remaining to ask for. That is all I want. So that is the essence of that song. Moving on, thank you, Prabhuji, for giving me the opportunity to share that.
That was incredible. Maybe some point. How long is the whole thing?
It takes about, I think, 4 minutes, four to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 4 hours.
Oh no. No, about 4.5 minutes, I think, average.
Very, very good.
So moving on, we'll talk about the Guruvayur Utsavam, or the annual temple festival that is celebrated every year in Guruvayur in the Malayalam month of Kumbham. So this translates, if you translate it to the English calendar, it celebrated in somewhere in mid-February to mid-March. So it's a very special festival, and every ritual, every tradition that is followed as part of this festival, it has a deep spiritual significance. And at the core of this festival is the aim of enhancing the spiritual energy of the temple and the atmosphere surrounding it. So on the first day, the festival begins with a very unique custom. So on the first day, a few select temple elephants, they stand in a very neat row, half a mile from the eastern entrance. This is, in fact, they begin the race starting at the point where that sacred people tree I mentioned in the last session, Manjulal, that tree. So they stand near the tree. So that tree is a landmark. It's a starting point for this very different, very unique race. So these elephants, they compete in a short race. They race towards the temple. The temple is their destination. And after completing 7 rounds of the main shrine, the temple that the elephant that touches the flagstaff first, the one to reach first, is said to have secured first place. And the honor is the privilege of carrying the Lord's festive deity for the entire duration of the festival. So this
Amazing.
somebody was saying something.
Amazing. How many elephants do this?
Not many actually, because the temple has nearly like 40 to 50 elephants at any given time of the year, but all of them obviously cannot compete together. So I think it is about, now if I look at this photograph, I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 to 7, I think 6 to 7 elephants at any given time. And the origins of this unique race, they go back to a time when the Guruvayur temple was not as prosperous as it is today. And at that time, it was a subsidiary of a very ancient temple. I'm not sure if this temple exists today. It was known as the Trikanna Madilagam temple. I think it is a couple of hours distance away from Guruvayur, but I am not entirely sure if this temple even exists today. So at that time, it is said that the Guruvayur temple did not have any elephants of its own for the temple rituals, especially for the Lord's procession. And on that occasion, an elephant from this other temple, Trikanna Madilagam, it is said that the elephant turned around on its own. No one prodded it or provoked it. No one did anything to make it change its mind from whatever it was doing. The elephant just turned around, and on its own, it ran all the way to Guruvayur. And it reached Guruvayur just in time for the Lord's procession. So, considering it to be a mark of Guruvayurappan's blessing, the elephant then took part in the rituals for that day. And ever since, this annual temple festival, in memory of that episode, it begins with a symbolic elephant race. So this race, Ana is a traditional South Indian, a Malayalam word for elephant, and Otam means race in Malayalam. So this event is called Otam, the elephant race. And during the first 7 days of this Utsavam or festival, the grand elephant processions are held thrice a day with 5 elephants participating. So 5 elephants standing in a row. On usual days, on normal days, there are only 3 elephants that take part in these temple processions. But during the Utsavam, instead of 3, there are 5 elephants. And special offerings called Shri Bhuta Bali. So Bhuta indicates the attendance of the Lord. So being the Lord's attendants, respect must also be offered to them. So Shri Bhuta Bali is where special offerings are made to these attendants twice a day. And on the 8th day, a special, a very unique offering is made. That offering is called Utsava Bali, and offerings are made not just to the attendants but to all the other deities, all the gods and goddesses. On the southern, this takes place on the southern side of the temple. Starting from inside the temple, it proceeds to the southern side, I think. And after the offerings are complete, a very sumptuous feast is arranged for all the devotees. And not just the devotees, but also the animals and birds that live in the vicinity of the temple. So it is a way of honoring all living forms, not just human beings, but animals and birds as well, because they are all creations of God. And in God's eyes, everyone is equal. And on the 9th day, the elephants are taken out of the temple in procession. So the festive deity of the Lord is never brought out of the temple during any time during the year. It is only during this festival that the actual festive deity of the Lord from inside the temple is brought out. And on the 9th day, the Lord comes out in procession. And so the photograph on the top is of one such procession. So there are 5 elephants standing. There are so many musicians who come and play all these traditional, typically instruments which are typical to the tradition of Kerala and South India in general. It's amazing, really. I haven't attended this festival at any time, but even during regular daily processions, when all the musicians, they play their instruments together, it generates such a vibration. Your hair literally stands on end. It's beautiful. It's beautiful listening to that music. And so after completing this round around the temple, the deity is taken out in procession on yet another elephant, but just one elephant this time. And this ritual is called Palli Veta. So Veta is a Malayalam word for hunt. So it's a symbolic hunt. So it portrays the Lord as the divine hunter. So men dressed as animals of all kinds, they dress themselves up and they take part in this ritual. And so the Lord is portrayed as a divine hunter who destroys all our inner evils like anger, hatred, jealousy, all the negative emotions. And on the last day, the 10th day, it is this final day is marked by a ritual bathing of the Lord in the holy temple pond called, and the ritual is called Arattu. So there is a procession that takes place around the temple, and it comes to the tank where, amidst the chanting of holy mantras, the deity of the Lord is dipped in the water very respectfully. And after that, there are 11 fast-paced rounds around the temple. And the deity then returns to the sanctum sanctorum. The Lord is given time to rest because the devotees believe that the Lord must be so tired after all the hunting and going around, meeting everybody, seeing everybody. And he's taken inside, and then the temple flag is lowered, and it marks the end of this very, very grand festival. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get as many pictures as I would like to, because it's not very easy getting hold of appropriate pictures for every point that we discuss here. And even if I do get a few pictures, they all end up looking the same to me. So I find it a little difficult trying to pick and choose, but
it's good what you're showing. It's really good. It shows the mood. It's amazing how many drums and
oh, this is nothing. You listen to that in person. It's out of this world. It's out of this world. And this is a special. This is on special occasions like the festival, which is like multiple times, much grander than the playing of instruments on a normal day inside the temple. It's beautiful. It's I literally don't have words to describe. And finally, the glory of Guruvayur Ekadashi. So we know, many of us know, that the 11th day of every lunar fortnight is considered one of the holiest days as per the traditional Vedic calendar. So considering that there are 12 months, there are 24 Ekadashis in a year, each Ekadashi having its own significance. The Ekadashi that occurs during the Malayalam month of Vrishchikam, which as per the Gregorian calendar is mid-November to mid-December. The Shukla Paksha Ekadashi, to be more specific. So Shukla Paksha is like during the brighter fortnight of the month, when the moon is in the waxing phase, going towards Purnima, towards the full moon. So that Ekadashi is considered especially very important in Guruvayur, and hence it is commonly known as Guruvayur Ekadashi. Now, Guruvayur Ekadashi, the day itself, like the Ekadashi day itself, is preceded by a month-long festival called Ekadashi Vilakku. Vilakku is means a lamp, a diya that we light in offering. So this Ekadashi Vilakku is a month-long festival of lights and multiple cultural events. So people offer, they make offerings of traditional concerts of traditional classical music. There's traditional dance. Traditional art forms are presented in front of the Lord on that stage, which the photo of which I shared a few slides ago. So all those events take place there, and every day there is a very dazzling display of lights and decorations, both inside the temple and in the immediate surroundings of the temple. It's really very grand. Each day the offering is made by a particular person or an organization. So on some days it is the association of all the merchants and the tradesmen in and around Guruvayur. They collectively offer to they come together to make the offerings on one of the days. On another day it is the policemen who make their offering, and on certain days there are banks or other such institutions which come forward to make their offering. So every day is different. The decorations are different. It's really very grand. It's beautiful. I have no words to describe this. And during the latter half of this festival is the Chembai Sangeetotsavam, the music festival that I just mentioned. And this music festival, it culminates on Dashami, that is the day before Guruvayur Ekadashi. On the day of Guruvayur Ekadashi, the temple remains open from 3 a.m. in the morning when it usually opens, but it does not close at night on that day. It continues to remain open until around 9 a.m. the following day, that is Dwadashi. And on Dwadashi, before the temple is closed in the morning, there is a tradition where devotees make a ceremonial offering of a token amount of money to the Lord in a place inside the temple which is called Kutambalam. So this Kutambalam is like an open air stage. It's not very big, it's small, but it's very beautiful, very old and traditionally constructed. So devotees, the queue starts forming from outside the temple, and it winds around and round and round and goes inside the temple. And then devotees, one by one, they make their ceremonial offering. And once all those offerings are complete, the temple is closed because it has been open since 3 a.m. the previous day. And then once it is closed, it only opens on the evening of that day. So this ceremony is called Dwadashi Panam. Panam means money in Malayalam. So Dwadashi Panam, because the offering is made on the day of Dwadashi. And Guruvayur Ekadashi is so very special. It is said that Indra is accompanied by the divine cow Kamadhenu. He comes, or Surabhi, as she is also known. He comes to Guruvayur on this day and he worships the Lord, bathing the Lord with Kamadhenu's milk. And Guruvayur is also rendered very holy, even holier, by the presence of rivers like the Ganga and the Yamuna in the temple on this very, very special day. And if we recall a few sessions ago when we were talking about Adi Shankaracharya coming to the temple, and he apparently he fell down in front of the Lord because he neglected coming to the temple and paying his respects on that day, which happened to be Guruvayur Ekadashi, and he ended up composing the Govindashtakam in praise of Guruvayurappan. So that episode, it also took place on a Guruvayur Ekadashi day. And last week, we also spoke about this very great elephant devotee of Guruvayurappan called Guruvayur Keshavan. He also attained liberation on one such Guruvayur Ekadashi day. So it is a very, very special day indeed. With this, it breaks my heart to say this, but with this, we come to the end of this series on Guruvayur.
Wow.
That we have been doing for the past 6 weeks.
Amazing.
It has been, needless to say, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Thank you. Amazing.
Opportunity to share whatever we have known, whatever me and my family we have experienced, being able to share it with all the devotees. It's been a blessing. It's been an honor. Thank you so much. I can never thank you enough for this opportunity.
We are very grateful to you because you've really taken us to a place where most people would find difficult to go, and you've transported us there. And in fact, a lot better than if we go there, because when we go there, we're never quite so sure about what we are doing. But the way you've explained it, and you've taken us to all the different sites and the beautiful places of pilgrimage, and given us so much nectar about the devotees, especially the elephant. That was amazing. So I'd like to thank you. So good. And
thank you so much.
It's ended already. Wow.
It feels like we just started, and look, it's been 6 weeks already.
Yeah.
It feels like we just began.
It does. It's amazing. Wow. You've done so good, so well. You should be very proud of yourself, and your family should be very proud of you. Very good.
I'm just happy that I've been given this opportunity, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow. Very good. Well done. Any questions? Any comments?
Thank you, Shruti Mataji.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for so
Thank you, Mataji.
Really good. Really good. Okay, so let me stop the recording.
Yes, I just would like to say that all that we have shared, all that we have talked about in the past 6 weeks, let us all offer this at the feet of Guruvayur, at the feet of Sri Krishna, and pray for his continued grace and blessings, not just for ourselves, but for everyone in this world. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shruti ki jai.
Yay.